say, welcome to this episode of Mommy's Seastar. Today we're going to learn about bees. Bees are insects. That means that they are invertebrates. They have an exoskeleton, which means that their skeleton is on the outside. Bees have 6 legs, like all insects. Bees have 3 body parts, like all insects: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Bees belong to the order of insects called Hymenoptera. Hymenoptera means membrane wing. A membrane is something that's very, very thin. When you look at a bee's wing, you can see it's thin and clear. Bees are very important in the animal and plant kingdom because they pollinate flowers and help them to grow. Bees visit flowers one after another and bring pollen from one to another, and this fertilizes the seeds, which makes new seeds and new plants grow. Bees also provide important food sources for animals and humans. Bees make honey because they eat honey and they eat pollen. When a bee visits a flower, it sucks up the nectar, the sweet juice that the flower makes, and it carries it back to its hive. Bees pass the nectar back and forth, in and out, spitting it out over and over until some of the fluid is evaporated, and then it's syrupy and it's honey. Bees eat the honey and feed it to their babies. Inside the hive, there are different kinds of bees. There are the worker bees that you see here. They are females, and they're the ones that go out of the hive and gather the nectar and the pollen. Here we're feeding some honey to a bee that needs to be revived. See her eating the honey? In a hive, there is one queen bee. The queen bee is the one that lays the eggs. She's the largest one in the hive, and she can sting as many times as she wants. A worker bee can only sting once. The male bees are called drones. They don't do any work and just eat honey. Their job is to fertilize the eggs. Here you can see something very amazing that we found on one of our walks in our neighborhood. It's an actual beehive. If you look very closely, you can see the little hexagons. Each of these hexagons is a cell. It's a little compartment where bees can store things that are important, like honey and pollen. The bees need these to eat. The queen bee also lays eggs in these cells, and they're fed by the workers. These are worker bees. And then what happens is people harvest the delicious honey from these hives. I love delicious honey, very sweet and tasty. The worker bees produce wax in flakes. They chew up the wax and make little circles and press the circles with their bodies. That's why these little cells become hexagon shaped. A hexagon has 6 sides. Bees help in a very important process in nature. It's called pollination. Pollination happens when an insect or even the wind carries pollen from one flower to another. Flowers have pollen in the middle of them. It's a little dust, a fine yellow dust inside the flowers. Pollination is really important because without pollination we would have no flowers. Bees go to the center of flowers. They collect nectar and pollen. The pollen sticks to their legs like this and also gets all over their bodies when they go inside the flower. And they get the nectar, they take it into their stomachs, and then the pollen is carried on their bodies, on their fuzzy bodies and on their legs to the next flower. And what happens is the pollen from this flower goes to this flower and it fertilizes the eggs inside this flower. This is called pollination. Once this fertilization happens inside the flower, the seeds start to grow. Usually then the flower itself dries up. And the petals fall off, but inside the seeds are growing. Then the seeds fall to the ground and a new plant begins to grow. Look, the new plant grows a bud. The bud blooms, and we have another flower and more pollen for the bees to visit and collect. This is how pollination happens. Without bees, there would be far fewer flowers. Some species of flowers would even die out. We need bees. We need bees for flowers and fruit. Bees help flowers pollinate.